after the crackdown on Amritpal, the Khalistani sympathizers across the world showed their real terrorist intentions. In between all this anti-India toolkit activation, the UK acquired the central stage. But more disappointing was the UK government's tacit consent to these so-called protesters. Now there is murmuring in the diplomatic discussions that India may suspend the FTA negotiations with the UK. There is also a faction that is saying that India is in no mood to halt the FTA talks. What is cooking inside? Let us understand the whole development. Namaste and welcome to TFI Post. I'm your host Pauresh Gupta. Let's begin. Recently, news surfaced on the media platform that India has halted the negotiations with the United Kingdom regarding the free trade agreements. The FTA has been discussed for a long time and nothing concrete has come out of the negotiations. After the High Commission incident in London, there is a resentment in the general public of India and the Indian origin people across the world. The government of India took strong and sincere measures to deal with it. The UK ambassador was summoned and reprimanded for such insecurity about Indian integrity. The UK side tried to woo India through its usual imperial mindset. The promises for strict actions were made, but they were as hollow as the British claim of humanizing the larger world. However, New Delhi's approach lately can be described as more pragmatic. This was exemplified in dealing with the UK for being a Khalistani haven. Seeing no solidifying action against radical militant elements, India removed the security of the British High Commission in New Delhi. It was also reported by many sources that a public toilet, yes public toilet, would be constructed near the residence of British envoy. Removing security and building public toilets are a clear message to the United Kingdom that hollow promises won't work and strict measures need to be taken. It was aimed at giving the UK a taste of what India was witnessing. A security removal for security failure, as simple as that. Even after that, the United Kingdom has taken no satisfactory measure to curb the Khalistani terror outfits that are operating within their country. All it wants is a thriving trade that can hold up its drowning economy. After the attack on Indian mission in London, there was a voice that was becoming more cohesive. The voice of a strict no to an FTA with the UK. So any news of a halting of the FTA is the sheer acknowledgement of such a voice. But soon after the news broke, the counter-information spread over the internet that stalling FTA negotiation is baseless. Reportedly, an Indian Foreign Ministry source denied any break in negotiations from the Indian side. Even the British diplomat in India said that the talks are going smoothly as scheduled. But still, there remains a curious question over the whole development. As such, the earlier report can't be outrightly denied. If we look at some past statement of UK diplomats, it becomes clear that the FTA negotiations have suffered a setback because of the UK's insecurity incompetence. While in an interaction with the Hindu, the spokesperson for UK Prime Minister Rishi Sunak urged India that the trade talks and diplomatic tensions should be separately dealt with and that both sides wanted to finalize an FTA. The statement was unfortunate. I mean, it is not even imaginable that a country whose sovereignty and integrity are tormented is expected to act according to imperial dogma. It is nonsense to think of trade and diplomatic tension as separate from each other. However, the statement clearly shows that India is pulling the strings internally. If I briefly talk about the India-UK FTA, it was January last year when the negotiations were started. It was anticipated that the FTA would be concluded by Diwali. But following the political instability in the UK, the negotiations stretched further. Later, following the controversial statement of Suella Braverman, the Home Secretary of UK added fuel to the fire. In her statement, she opposed the FTA, saying that it would lead to more Indians migrating into the UK, who represent the largest group overstaying their visas. Political instability after her resignation and Rishi Sunak's gaining power instilled another hope for FTA. But now, the Khalistani radical anti-India movement has again taken over the FTA. The UK desperately wants to sign an FTA with the Indian government, but with unilateral beneficial conditions. This was visible in the carbon taxing of Indian imports so that the competitiveness of local products is maintained. This is the proper case of taking concessions in the name of environment for vested economic interests. Simply put, the UK has nothing left to leverage upon. In fact, after Brexit, there isn't much left with the UK to lure other countries for trade besides whiskey, cars, digital data, and legal services. After the emergence of potential markets across the world and especially in Asia, major industries have moved outside the UK. Apart from that, India is the second largest FDI source for the UK. with more than 900 Indian companies, while the UK is India's sixth largest FDI source country with only 572 UK companies. The trade balance in bilateral trade is too positive for India. And at last, the condition of the UK economy is at an all-time low. Although it is true that the FTA will be beneficial for both nations, it is also a fact that the UK needs it more desperately than India. So maybe FTA negotiations will go more smoothly in the near future, but this whole development has sent a strong message to the UK. And the UK needs to take action as soon as possible, or else the negotiations may go down the drain. The diplomatic tensions cannot be separated from the trade talks. It is an obligation for the UK government to curb Khalistani terror outfits at any cost.